The Hippocrates glided through the vastness of space, its pristine white hull gleaming against the backdrop of distant stars. From a distance, the vessel resembled a giant crescent moon, its curved profile designed to maximize internal space while maintaining structural integrity during faster-than-light jumps. The ship's mission was simple yet vital: deliver advanced medical aid to the frontier colony suffering from the Nexus Plague. Captain Sarah Winters stood on the bridge, her experienced eyes scanning the holographic displays. 27 years in the interstellar medical corps had left silver streaks in her dark hair and deep lines around her eyes, but her posture remained military straight, a remnant of her early career as a combat medic. "Status report," she requested, voice calm despite the tension evident in the tight set of her shoulders. Lieutenant Rivera glanced up from his console. "All systems nominal, Captain. We're maintaining course to the Epsilon cluster, ETA 14 hours. And our patients? Stable. Dr. Chen reports all quarantine protocols are functioning at optimal levels." Winters nodded, allowing herself a brief moment of relief. The Hippocrates carried over 3,000 doses of the newly synthesized Nexus Plague antiviral, enough to save the colonists of New Harmony. The plague had already decimated 3 frontier settlements, leaving thousands dead in its wake. This mission wasn't just humanitarian. It was the difference between life and extinction for the entire colony. "Captain," the comms officer called, voice suddenly sharp. "We're picking up unusual readings at the edge of our sensor range." Winters frowned. Define unusual. Multiple heat signatures appearing out of nowhere. They weren't there 3 minutes ago. Moving fast, very fast. A chill ran down Winters' spine. The Hippocrates was unarmed, as all medical vessels were according to the Galactic Concordat. Identification. The officer's face paled. Vraxian energy signatures. 5 ships, combat class. The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what that meant. The Vraxians were the most notorious pirates in the sector, ruthless and efficient. Known for their distinctive violet-hulled ships and their disregard for Concordat laws, they attacked without warning and left no survivors. "This is impossible," Rivera muttered. "We're in protected space." They wouldn't dare. "Sound general quarters," Winters ordered, cutting him off. "All non-essential personnel to emergency stations. Divert maximum power to shields." As alarms blared throughout the ship, Winters opened a channel to the medical deck. "Dr. Chen, secure the antivirals. We have company." The response came immediately, the voice calm and measured. "Understood, Captain. Initiating Protocol 7. In the primary laboratory, Dr. Ilara Chen worked with precise, economical movements. Tall and slender, with short black hair framing sharp features, she moved with an efficiency that inspired confidence in those around her. As the ship's leading xenobiologist, she had designed the antiviral currently locked in the containment units behind her. "Everyone, listen carefully," she addressed her team. "Secure all samples in the reinforced vault. Medical staff, prepare for potential casualties." A young technician looked up, fear evident in his eyes. "They're pirates, aren't they? The Vraxians?" Chen didn't hesitate. "Yes, and they're after the antiviral. Its black market value exceeds the annual GDP of most frontier worlds." "But we're a medical ship," another staff member protested. "We're protected under the Concordat." Chen's expression hardened almost imperceptibly. "Pirates don't care about treaties. Move now. We have 3 minutes before they're in weapon range." The first impact rocked the Hippocrates with devastating force. Emergency lights flashed as the ship's artificial gravity fluctuated. Chen steadied herself against a console, watching as her team scrambled to secure the precious antiviral samples. "Dr. Chen." Captain Winters' voice crackled through the comms. "Status report." "Antiviral secured," Chen responded, her voice unnaturally steady amid the chaos. "But that won't matter if they board us." "They've disabled our engines," Winters replied grimly. "We're dead in space." Chen closed her eyes briefly. as if making a difficult decision. When she spoke again, her voice had changed subtly. "Captain, I need command access to the ship's internal systems." A pause. "That's against protocol, Doctor." "With all due respect, Captain, we're about to be boarded by Vraxian pirates. Protocol is already broken." Chen moved toward the exit. "Meet me in engineering. There's something you need to know about my background." 15 minutes later, Captain Winters stared at Chen with a mixture of disbelief and dawning hope. "You were special operations." Chen's hands never stopped moving as she reconfigured the engineering console, bypassing safety protocols with practiced ease. "Xenobiological Warfare Division. Before I became a doctor, I specialized in turning alien biology against itself." "That's highly classified work," Winters said slowly. "Why would someone with your background transfer to a medical ship?" Chen's eyes flashed. "Redemption, perhaps. Or penance. Does it matter now?" Before Winters could respond, the ship shuddered violently. The comms crackled. "Captain, they've breached the outer hull on Deck C. Boarding parties incoming." Chen turned to Winters, her expression resolute. "I can make this ship a death trap for them, but I need your authorization. What I'm planning violates every medical oath I've taken." Winters didn't hesitate. "Do it. Save my crew." "Attention all personnel." Chen's voice echoed through the ship-wide comms moments later. "This is Dr. Chen. I am implementing Emergency Directive Omega. All medical staff, report to your section leaders for immediate reassignment. This is not a drill." Throughout the Hippocrates, confusion reigned as medical equipment was suddenly repurposed. Surgical lasers were removed from their moorings. Quarantine field generators were reconfigured. Pharmaceutical synthesizers were reprogrammed to produce compounds never intended for healing. In the main laboratory, Chen addressed a group of wide-eyed medical staff. "The Vraxians have a unique respiratory system," she explained, hands moving rapidly as she modified a standard air filtration unit. "Their lungs contain specialized membranes that process oxygen differently than humans. We can use that against them." A nurse looked horrified. "You're talking about weaponizing our medical knowledge." Chen met her gaze steadily. "I'm talking about survival. About making sure these antivirals reach New Harmony. About saving 3,000 colonists instead of becoming a footnote in a piracy report." Throughout the ship, Chen's makeshift plans took shape. Quarantine fields were rigged to trap intruders. Surgical equipment was transformed into improvised weapons. Medical scanners were reprogrammed to emit targeted pulses that would disorient Vraxian neural systems. There through Deck D came the panicked report. "Security teams are engaged, but we're outgunned." In engineering, Chen finalized her most audacious modification. With deft movements, she rerouted the ship's atmospheric controls, creating isolated pockets throughout the vessel. "What exactly are you doing?" Winters asked, watching as Chen programmed a complex sequence. "Vraxians evolved on a low-oxygen world," Chen explained. "Their respiratory efficiency is their advantage, and their weakness. I'm creating oxygen-rich zones that will essentially intoxicate them, slowing their reactions. Then we hit them with this." She held up a canister of modified anesthetic gas. "It's harmless to humans, but will render them unconscious within seconds." A security officer running past stopped abruptly. "Doctor, they've reached the containment area. They're after the antivirals." Chen nodded, unsurprised. "Right on schedule." She tapped her comm badge. "Activate sequence Alpha 3. Throughout the ship, hidden modifications came to life. In the containment area, the first Vraxian pirates, tall, lean figures with iridescent scaled skin and specialized breathing apparatus, found themselves suddenly trapped between invisible energy fields. As they fired their weapons in confusion, the fields reflected the energy back at them. "Move to Phase 2, Chen ordered calmly. The ship's ventilation system hummed as precisely calibrated mixtures of gases were released into selected areas. On the security feeds, they watched as Vraxian boarders slowed, their movements becoming uncoordinated. "It's working," Winters breathed. Chen's expression remained grim. This is just the first wave. Their commander isn't among them. How can you be sure? Because I've studied Vraxian tactics. This is a test run. They're sacrificing expendable troops to assess our defenses. Chen turned to the captain. The real attack is coming, and it will be led by their commander personally. As if on cue, the comms crackled with a new transmission, a harsh, clicking voice that sent chills down the spines of everyone who heard it. "Attention, human vessel." The Vraxian commander's translated voice rasped. "Your resistance is unexpected, impressive, even, but futile." Chen stepped forward, gesturing for Winters to allow her to respond. The captain nodded. "This is Dr. Ilara Chen of the IMC Hippocrates. We are a medical vessel protected under Article 7 of the Galactic Concordat. Your actions constitute a war crime." A sound like grinding stones emanated from the comm. Vraxian laughter. "War requires equals, human. You are prey, nothing more. Prepare for my arrival." The transmission cut off. Chen turned to Winters, her eyes cold with determination. "Now we prepare the real welcome." As the crew scrambled to implement Chen's increasingly elaborate defensive measures, a young medic approached her hesitantly. "Dr. Chen, who are you really?" Chen paused in her work, considering the question. Someone who once created weapons and now tries to heal. Someone who hoped to never use those skills again. She looked up at the security feed showing the approaching Vraxian command ship. Someone who is about to remind these pirates why attacking the human vessel, even a medical one, is a terrible mistake. The command ship loomed closer, its violet hull absorbing rather than reflecting the distant starlight. Inside the Hippocrates, the crew prepared for the final confrontation, transforming their vessel of healing into something else entirely. Dr. Ilara Chen stood on the bridge, watching the approaching threat with the calm certainty of someone who had prepared for this moment her entire life. "Captain," she said quietly, "order all personnel to put on their emergency respirators and clear the main corridors." "What are you planning?" Winters asked. Chen's smile was cold and certain. "I'm going to introduce the Vraxian commander to the full capabilities of human medicine." Commander Vexthor of the Vraxian Marauder Fleet stood tall on the bridge of his flagship, the Blood Tide. His scaled skin shimmered under the violet lights, gill-like respiratory membranes fluttering slightly at his neck. For 8 cycles, he had terrorized this sector with impunity. Human vessels were particularly prized targets, soft, predictable, and often carrying valuable cargo. "Status report," he demanded, his translator converting the complex clicks and whistles of his native tongue into standard galactic common. His second-in-command approached, posture submissive. "The advance team has not reported back, Commander. We've lost contact with all 20 warriors." Vexthor's inner eyelids flicked in irritation. Impossible. They were armed with pulse disruptors against an unarmed medical vessel. Nevertheless, they have disappeared. The ship's defenses appear unconventional. Vexthor moved to the view screen, studying the white crescent shape of the Hippocrates. Such an elegant design, he thought. Typical human extravagance, prioritizing aesthetics over function. Yet something didn't feel right. Medical ships were easy prey, their crews trained to heal, not fight. "Prepare the main boarding party," he decided. "I will lead personally." Inside the Hippocrates, Dr. Chen monitored the approaching Vraxian flagship from the makeshift command center she had established in the medical bay. Around her, the ship's crew, doctors, nurses, technicians, waited in tense silence, now armed with modified medical equipment. "They're preparing to board," Lieutenant Rivera reported from his station. "Multiple launch signatures detected. Boarding craft incoming." Chen nodded, unsurprised. "Implement Phase 3. All personnel, activate your respirators." Throughout the ship, crew members donned their emergency breathing apparatus. Chen had modified the standard medical respirators, adding specialized filters that would protect against what was to come. "What exactly is Phase 3? Captain Winters asked, adjusting her own respirator. Chen gestured to the ship schematics displayed on the main screen. We've reconfigured the ship's environmental systems to create a series of containment zones. When the Vraxians breach our hull, we'll seal them in and introduce tailored atmospheric changes. You mean we're going to gas them? In a manner of speaking, Chen replied. Their respiratory systems are significantly different from ours. I've synthesized a compound that will temporarily paralyze their breathing membranes without causing permanent damage. Winters raised an eyebrow. You developed this just now. Chen's expression remained neutral. Let's just say I've maintained certain knowledge from my previous career. Before Winters could press further, the ship shuddered violently. Hull breach detected on decks E and G, Rivera announced. Multiple entry points. Chen tapped her console, bringing up security feeds from throughout the ship. The screens showed Vraxian boarding parties cutting through bulkheads, their tall, muscular forms moving with predatory grace. Seal sections 12 through 17. Chen ordered calmly. Initiate atmospheric modification. On the screens, the invading Vraxians suddenly paused, their breathing membranes fluttering rapidly as the air composition changed around them. Several dropped to their knees, weapons clattering to the deck. Others leaned against walls, clearly disoriented. It's working, Rivera breathed. Chen nodded, but her expression remained serious. These are just the foot soldiers. The commander will have specialized equipment. She turned to Winters. We need to prepare for direct confrontation. Throughout the ship, the crew implemented Chen's defensive strategies. Surgical lasers, recalibrated to a specific frequency, cut through Vraxian armor with surprising effectiveness. Diagnostic scanners, modified to emit targeted electromagnetic pulses, disrupted the pirates' neural systems, causing disorientation and confusion. In the main laboratory, Chen prepared her final countermeasure. With quick, precise movements, she programmed a sequence into the ship's central environmental controls. Dr. Chen, the comms crackled. Security Team Alpha reporting. We've captured 6 Vraxians as per your instructions. Excellent, Chen responded. Hold position. I'm on my way. In a secured cargo bay, 6 Vraxian pirates sat immobilized against the wall, their breathing labored, gill membranes fluttering erratically. Chen entered, accompanied by Captain Winters and a security detail. What are you planning to do with them? Winters asked quietly. Chen approached the nearest pirate, studying its physiological responses with clinical detachment. Gather intelligence, and send a message. She knelt before the Vraxian, activating her translator. Where is your commander? The pirate hissed, its translator converting the sound to, he comes for you personally, human. Your cleverness has intrigued him. Chen smiled thinly. Good, that's exactly what I wanted. She stood, addressing the security team. Keep them contained. Make sure their respirators remain functional. We need them alive. As they left the cargo bay, Winters pulled Chen aside. All right, Doctor, time for full disclosure. Who are you really? Chen hesitated, then sighed. Former Colonel Ilara Chen, Xenobiological Countermeasures Division. I specialized in developing defenses against non-human biological threats. You were military intelligence, Winters realized. Why the career change? A shadow crossed Chen's face. I created weapons, Captain. Efficient, devastating weapons that targeted specific alien physiologies. When I saw them deployed during the Arcturus conflict, she shook her head. After the war, I swore to use my knowledge to heal. Until today. The ship's comms interrupted their conversation. Doctor, Commander, we've got movement on Deck A. Something big just cut through the hull. Chen's expression hardened. That's him. The Vraxian commander. She checked her modified medical scanner. Just as I predicted, he's using an advanced respiratory system. Our atmospheric modifications won't affect him. So what's the plan? We need to get him to the main medical bay. Chen tapped her comm badge. All teams, implement Protocol Omega. Guide, don't engage. Throughout the ship, the crew executed Chen's instructions with precision. Security teams appeared briefly before retreating, leading the Vraxian commander and his elite guards deeper into the vessel through seemingly undefended corridors. In the medical bay, Chen made final adjustments to the equipment, transforming the healing space into an elaborate trap. "He'll be here in 3 minutes," she told Winters. "I need you and your bridge crew to evacuate to the secondary command center." "I'm not leaving you alone with that thing," Winters protested. "This isn't a request, Captain. What's about to happen here?" Chen's voice trailed off. "Let's just say it's better you maintain plausible deniability." After a tense moment, Winters nodded reluctantly. "Don't get yourself killed, Doctor. That's an order." As the captain departed, Chen sealed the medical bay doors and dimmed the lights. She positioned herself beside a standard examination table, now modified with restraints strong enough to hold even a Vraxian warrior. Next to it sat an array of medical instruments, each repurposed for a decidedly non-healing function. The doors hissed open, and Commander Vexthor entered. Standing over 7 feet tall, his armored form dominated the room. Unlike his soldiers, his breathing appeared unaffected by the atmospheric changes, thanks to the elaborate respirator covering the lower half of his face. "Impressive," his translator rasped. "You've turned a healing vessel into a surprisingly effective weapon. Few prey species have managed such creativity." Chen nodded respectfully. "Yet here you are, seemingly unaffected by our defenses." "Advanced technology," Vexthor replied, tapping his respirator. "Your tricks might work on common raiders, but I've been hunting human ships for 8 cycles." "Hunting," Chen repeated thoughtfully. "An interesting choice of word. It implies a certain sport, as if we're not equals." Vexthor's inner eyelids flickered with amusement. "You understand correctly, human. Although I must admit, you've proven more interesting than most. Is that why you attacked a medical vessel? For sport?" Chen's voice remained calm, but a dangerous edge had crept into it. "Partly, and partly for the antivirals you carry. Their value on certain markets is substantial." Vexthor moved further into the room, studying the medical equipment with casual interest. "Now shall we dispense with pleasantries? Where are the antivirals stored?" Chen smiled. "Closer than you think." With a subtle movement, she tapped a sequence on her wrist device. Instantly, hidden emitters activated throughout the medical bay. Vexthor staggered as his advanced respirator sputtered and died, its circuitry fried by a precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulse. "What have you?" he began, before dropping to one knee, breathing suddenly labored. "Targeted EMP," Chen explained, approaching unhurriedly. "Specifically designed to disable Vraxian technology without affecting human equipment." Vexthor snarled, reaching for his weapon, but his movements were growing sluggish. "Impossible. You couldn't have prepared for this." "Oh, but I could," Chen replied softly. "You see, Commander, before I became a doctor, I spent 15 years studying how to neutralize threats exactly like you." The Vraxian commander stared at her, comprehension dawning in his alien eyes. "You're her, the ghost of Arcturus." Chen's expression hardened. "A name I left behind, along with the weapons I created that wiped out half your fleet during the war." Around them, the air shimmered as Chen activated the final phase of her plan. A fine mist began to permeate the room, invisible to human eyes, but causing Vexthor's respiratory membranes to contract painfully. "This compound," Chen explained clinically, "targets the specialized alveoli in Vraxian lungs. Non-lethal, but extraordinarily uncomfortable. Your breathing will become increasingly difficult until you lose consciousness." "Why not kill me?" Vexthor gasped. "Because I'm a doctor now," Chen replied simply. "And because you're going to deliver a message for me." As the Vraxian commander fought to remain conscious, Chen knelt beside him. "Listen carefully. When you wake up, you'll be back on your ship with your surviving crew. You will then transmit what I'm about to tell you to every Vraxian vessel in this sector. Vexthor's inner eyelids fluttered as he struggled to focus. The message is this: human medical ships are now under the protection of Colonel Ilara Chen, the ghost of Arcturus. Any vessel that attacks them will face consequences far worse than what you experienced today. She leaned closer. Because next time, Commander, I won't be restrained by medical ethics. The last thing Vexthor saw before consciousness slipped away was Chen's cold, determined expression, the face of a predator, not prey. 6 hours later, the Hippocrates continued its journey toward the Epsilon cluster, engines restored and hull breaches repaired. In the captain's office, Chen stood at attention, facing Winters across the desk. The Vraxian ships have departed the sector, Captain, Chen reported. Their commander regained consciousness aboard his vessel as planned and transmitted our message. According to our long-range scanners, they're traveling at maximum speed away from human space. Winters nodded slowly. And our casualties? 12 injured, no fatalities. All Vraxian prisoners have been treated for respiratory distress and transferred to their ships as agreed. Remarkable, Winters said quietly. You turned a hospital ship into a defensive miracle without sacrificing our principles. She studied Chen thoughtfully. The ghost of Arcturus. I thought that was just a wartime legend. Chen looked away. Legends are often exaggerated. Not this one, apparently. Winters stood up. The question now is, what happens when we reach New Harmony? When this story spreads? It will spread, Chen acknowledged. The Vraxians will ensure that. They respect strength above all else. And how will the Interstellar Medical Corps react to discovering we have the infamous Colonel Chen serving as our xenobiologist? Chen met the captain's gaze steadily. I'll resign my commission if necessary. My past was classified for a reason. To her surprise, Winters smiled. I don't think that will be required, Doctor. The IMC isn't in the habit of dismissing personnel who save entire ships and missions. She extended her hand. Besides, I suspect piracy against medical vessels is about to become much less common in this sector. Chen hesitated, then accepted the handshake. I hope so, Captain. I truly became a doctor to heal, not harm. And today you did both, Winters replied. You protected thousands of lives. Our crew, the colonists waiting for these antivirals. Sometimes healing requires unconventional methods. As Chen left the captain's office, she passed through the main medical bay, now restored to its original function. Doctors and nurses moved efficiently between patients, the space once again dedicated to healing rather than defense. A young medic approached her hesitantly. Dr. Chen, is it true what they're saying about you being some kind of military legend? Chen smiled faintly. Legends are complicated things, Ensign. What matters is what we do with the knowledge we have. She gestured to the injured crew members receiving treatment. Today, we saved lives. That's the only identity I'm interested in maintaining. Later, as the Hippocrates approached the New Harmony colony, Chen stood in the observation lounge, watching as the planet grew larger in the view screen. Behind her, the door hissed open as Captain Winters entered. Transmission from New Harmony, Winters reported. They've received word of our encounter with the Vraxians. Apparently, the story is spreading faster than we anticipated. Chen nodded, unsurprised. The Vraxians value reputation. It serves their purpose to spread the tale. It explains their defeat without diminishing their fearsome image. There's more, Winters continued. We've received priority communications from 3 other sectors. Medical vessels under threat from raiders similar to the Vraxians. They're requesting your assistance, or at least your expertise. Chen turned from the viewport, a conflicted expression crossing her face. I left that life behind for a reason, Captain. Did you? Winters asked quietly. Or did you just find a different way to use your knowledge? She placed a data pad on the table between them. The IMC is creating a new division. Medical security. They want you to head it. They want the ghost of Arcturus, Chen corrected. They want the woman who transformed a hospital ship into an impenetrable fortress without taking a single life. Winters countered. The woman who protected a shipment of antivirals that will save thousands of colonists. Outside the viewport, the lights of New Harmony's main settlement became visible as the Hippocrates began its descent. Chen watched them grow brighter, each light representing a life that would continue because of their mission. Perhaps, she said finally, there's a middle path. Using what I know not to wage war, but to protect those who heal. As the Hippocrates landed at New Harmony's main medical facility, the news of its encounter with the Vraxian pirates was already spreading throughout the sector. Within weeks, reports of attacks on medical vessels dropped by 70%. Within months, they had ceased entirely. The message had been received. Humans might value peace and healing above all else, but they were not to be underestimated. Even their doctors could become deadly when provoked, a lesson the galaxy would not soon forget.